Welcome back to Hammer the Backlog, the quarterly tabletop miniature painting, accountability and productivity blog and vlog series. My name is Mick, I am the one who hammers the backlog, and in this video we're going to look at quarter 3 of year 2 of Hammer the Backlog. In fact, this video is going to be in 2 parts. Part 1 will be a review of quarter 3, and part 2 will be the target planning session for quarter 4. So whether you're new to the channel or if you've been following for a while, just a quick reminder, in the Hammer the Backlog project, I am taking my 30 years of unpainted tabletop, mostly Warhammer, miniatures, sci-fi, fantasy, various different bits and pieces, and trying to get them painted before the inevitable heat death of the universe. The way I'm doing this is breaking things up into yearly targets. Each year I set a number of targets that I want to achieve. Then I break those targets down into manageable chunks quarter by quarter. This is quarter 3 of year 2, and in this quarter we had 3 targets. Target 1 was to get my 3rd/4th edition Blood Bowl Orc team painted, photographed and online. Target 2 was to get the Chaos Space Marine side of the 2012 Dark Vengeance box set for Warhammer 40,000 painted, photographed and online. And target 3 was to get a match report of the 3rd/4th edition Blood Bowl set filmed, edited and uploaded to YouTube. So, for the review, let's take a look at each of those targets and see how we did. The first target was to get my 1996 Blood Bowl 3rd or 4th edition Orc team painted, photographed and online. These were some of the first models I painted this quarter, and I'm very happy to report that this was an easy win. They were done in about 2.5 weeks. These models are the very epitome of 1996 Games Workshop models. They're more or less monopose, they're in flat poses with arms out at weird angles, they're just lovely, characterful chunks of 1996 plastic. Despite being around the world of Warhammer for the last 30 years, I've painted relatively few orcs, so the biggest treat for this set was getting to paint up some greenskins. I'm really happy with how they turned out, even if I misplaced the decals and had to hand paint numbers onto the back of each and every one of these. So that's 1 target achieved. Let's skip on to target 3. Target 3 was to get a Blood Bowl match report uploaded to YouTube. And once again, I'm happy to say that I more or less achieved this. In fact, you can watch the video just downstairs in the little description box. So why did I say more or less? Well, me and my arch rival and perennial nemesis Jim decided to play a game of Blood Bowl and then make that into a video match report. But it very quickly became apparent that Blood Bowl, with its dependence on precise positioning and individual dice rolls, doesn't really lead itself to the same sort of narrative style battle report that we made for the Warhammer Fantasy 5th edition, let's say. So in the end, we made an unboxing report and some highlights. In the end, I'm pretty happy with how the video turned out. Please do give it a watch so that it doesn't end up being the least watched video on this entire channel. So that leaves the main painting target of the quarter left to look at, to get the Chaos Space Marine side of the 2012 box set Dark Vengeance painted up. And once again, I'm very happy to report it's a clean sweep this quarter, all of the targets achieved. These models were a very interesting challenge for a number of reasons. First of all, I made a start on them 10 years ago when I first got them. So this Hellbrute, for example, I originally did paint his skin a few years ago and even got as far as doing the armor plates and the trim. But none of that was up to the current standard that I'm painting at, so I did repaint most of them. I'm very happy with how he turned out, to be honest. This is the centerpiece model of this collection, and I'm really happy with him. The first models I painted from this set, though, were the 20 Chaos Cultists. I didn't paint these using my modern painting scheme. I pretty much painted them exactly how I started painting them in 2012. And if you remember 2012, you know that was the era of base paint, Agrax Earthshade, and highlights. So that's exactly what these guys got. They got their base paints, they got a healthy coating in the brown sauce, and then I highlighted up for each one of them. Probably my favorite model from this set, and definitely the internet's favorite model from this set, is this guy, the Chaos Cultist Commissar. He's wearing an Oni mask, which is reminiscent of some of Dan Abnett's books with the Blood Pact, and he just looks badass. The last thing to be painted from this set were the Chaos Space Marines themselves. 6 chosen, including a champion, and the Lord. I am really pleased with how these guys turned out, but holy moly were they an ass pain. As someone who collected Chaos Space Marines in the early 2000s, back when they were just Space Marines with spikes, the trim on these guys, the bone protrusions, the fleshy bits, they are so detailed, and painting them was hard work. Anyone who's painting full armies of 2020 Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines, you have my sympathies and my admiration. I'm particularly happy with the cloak on the Chaos Lord. I flat out copied Juan Hidalgo's rich red recipe for this. If you'd like to see the color scheme I used, just go watch his video. He does it, but a little bit better. Much better. Just go watch it, it's better. So with all of the painting targets achieved, that gave me 2 extra weeks to work with in the quarter. And, as I always do, I got tempted by retro-style 3D printed dwarfs. I just can't control myself with resin dwarfs. So these guys were from Old Realm Forge. Simone, the designer, made some incredible designs, very reminiscent of 4th or 5th edition Games Workshop models, and they are just beautiful. They printed off beautifully. They were an absolute joy to paint up. After the dull, dark colours of the Chaos Space Marine cultists and the Marines themselves, having an opportunity to paint vibrant blues and yellows and reds was so much fun. Simone on Old Realm Forge has a whole range of these fellas, and I don't even think these handgunners are the best models, so they're well worth checking out. So that's it for quarter 3 of year 2, an unmitigated success, every commitment painted. Let's go and look at quarter 4. So quarter 4, not many choices to be made this quarter, as it's the last one of the year. If you remember back to the annual planning session almost, 9 months ago now, you'll know that I like to put my year's worth of models onto 4 baking trays. And then I take each of those baking trays and make sure that they are about 3 months worth of work. Then I pick one at a time and do that for the next quarter. That means by the time we get here to the end of quarter 3 and the start of quarter 4, there are no choices left to be made. So that means for quarter 4, the painting target is very clearly going to be to get the Dark Angel side of the Dark Vengeance box set painted, photographed, and online. So let's take a look very briefly at these models. What do we have in front of us? First of all, we have the 5 Deathwing Terminators. As you can see, I did make a start on these. These guys I made a start on when contrast paints were first released. I got very excited to try out the new Wraithbone undercoat and Skeleton Horde contrast paint. That means that a lot of the hard work of basing, undercoating and tidying up these models is already done. Usually I would count such detailed large models as 3 points each, 3 Hammer the Backlog points each, but since a lot of the work is done, I'm going to count the 5 of these as 10 points. So it's going to take me 2 weeks of work to get these 5 painted. The next models are the 10 Tactical Marines, good old-fashioned, short, firstborn Space Marines. These are going to be painted in a classic Dark Angels color scheme. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to go for a contrast method with these, or am I going to go for a more traditional dark green undercoat and highlight up. I'm quite excited to figure out which one I'm going to go with. As there are 10 of them and they're relatively simple models, I say now, and I know I'm going to regret that in the future, but as there are 10 of them and they're relatively simple, I'm going to count them as 1 Hammer the Backlog point each. So the 10 of these are also going to take 2 weeks. So that gives us 4 weeks work. The next models are these 3 Raven Wing bikers. As you can see, they're in need of a little bit of repair and rebasing. These 3, I'm going to have to do something a little bit weird. I'm going to count them as 10 points too. So 3 1/3 points each. That means I'm going to spend 2 weeks getting the 3 of them done. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do 1.5 of them per week, or am I going to do all 3 of them for a week, get them half done, and then finish them in the second week. Then finally we have these 3 characters. We have the Space Marine Librarian, the Space Marine Chaplain, and the Space Marine Chapter Master. Company Master? I think he's a Company Master. As these are detailed character models, I'm going to give them 1 week each and paint them more or less to the best of my ability. That's 15 Hammer the Backlog points, 10 points each for the 3 units. That's 45 Hammer the Backlog points, or about 9 weeks. This is quite a short quarter this week. We only have 12 weeks left before the end of the year. I don't know quite how I managed to do that, but I did. I messed up my calculations somewhere. So I'm not going to add another painting project. I might end up going over a week or 2 on some of these. I haven't painted Space Marines for Hammer the Backlog yet, and I'm not really sure exactly how long these models are going to take me. So I'm happy to have a little bit of leeway to add more detail or to give myself a little bit more time to figure out color schemes. The meta target for this quarter is going to be quite simple since we have next year's annual review coming up. So the meta target is going to be to get the annual review video filmed, edited and uploaded. That means choosing the models for next year, putting them onto the 4 separate trays, making sure it's a reasonable amount to get done and making the entire video. As I said, it's going to be quite a short quarter this time, so I haven't overpacked it or overstressed myself. But I am hoping to get a little bit of time to do some bits and bobs. For example, I have a load of 5th edition Lizardmen who want to get done. I have some Bretonnian Knights of the Realm and some Bretonnian Questing Knights who want to get painted. I have some more Dwarfs that I'd like to finish. There's a smorgasbord of things that I want to get painted. So I've left myself a little bit of time to get to them. Well, that's it for this quarterly review. Thank you very much for watching this. If you've enjoyed it, please do consider subscribing and giving the video a like and a little share. If you're really into this whole project management side of this thing, then have a look at the blog. It's www.hammerthebacklog.com. That blog is updated every week on Thursday evening without fail, and it has a scorecard where I keep track of week by week the progress of the project. If you just like the models and you're not interested in any of this project management nonsense, then do go and have a look at the Hammer the Backlog Instagram. On Instagram, I only post pictures of finished models. There's no project stuff, there's no me, there's no my face. It's just good old-fashioned models. Well, that's it from me for this quarter. Thank you for watching this video this long. You must be a very good egg. And I hope to see you in 3 months for the Q4 review and the annual planning session for next year. Bye.